Magneto was right.
Enough.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my full X-Men 97 episode 8 video. It's finale part 1. It's a full 3-part finale, so the next 2 episodes will air weekly. Episode 9 next week, then episode 10 the week after that. There's a whole bunch of Easter eggs and references here, a bunch of new cameo scenes, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. And don't worry, we already know we're getting Season 2 and Season 3, and it sounds like Marvel recently just renewed them for Season 4, maybe even beyond that too. Maybe if we're lucky, they'll also give them an animated movie. Careful for spoilers if you haven't seen the episode yet. We'll start at the beginning, work our way through shot by shot, talking about Easter eggs, WTF moments, starting with the episode title, Tolerance is Extinction, Part 1, like I said, Part 1 of 3. It's a reference to the Operation Zero Tolerance storyline from the comics, and E is for Extinction, which is from the new X-Men run, which is also where Professor X's catchphrase comes from that he says at the end of the episode, "To me, my X-Men."
To me, my X-Men.
That was actually Grant Morrison that wrote that run. They're borrowing a lot from that during a lot of different places. Generally, the comic book arcs that they're borrowing from are all about Bastion's origin story, the Prime Sentinels, and part of his plan with the destruction of Genosha with that Wild Sentinel, which is from E is for Extinction. So they're kind of cobbling together a bunch of different comic book storylines. This time, they give Cyclops the previously on X-Men for the recap at the beginning of the episode. Back in the day, if you don't remember, the original voice actor for Cyclops did all the previously ons.
Previously on X-Men.
This time, they used the standard X-Men theme song during the Marvel Animation logo, and they had a couple changes to the X-Men intro. There's still no Magneto at the beginning of the intro because he's not part of the X-Men anymore, like he declares war on humanity, and at the beginning of the episode, they still think that he's dead. They added Professor X back to the intro because he came back to Earth at the end of the episode. They added these scenes of Cyclops and Storm in the Danger Room back to back, which are from the original X-Men the Animated Series intro, also I think to reference Sunspot saying that he practiced his powers in the Danger Room. They added the scene of Magneto on Asteroid M. This is from the end of that arc when he used all of his power to destroy Asteroid M, causing it to crash into the ocean. I think to also explain how he charged up his powers, or supercharged his powers at the end of the episode to try and destroy all the Prime Sentinels around the Earth. He kind of did something similar during that episode where he had been weakened and needed to recharge his powers, so he used the Earth's magnetosphere to do that. Then after he got super juiced up, he basically used his powers to destroy his giant asteroid in space and cause it to crash into the ocean. During the end of the episode, he basically supercharges his powers at the North Pole here where the Earth's magnetosphere is strongest so he can charge his powers as quick as possible. And the funny thing here is if you saw Godzilla and Kong this year just a little while ago, Godzilla kind of did something similar to this where he used this particular point near the North Pole to charge his powers because Earth's radiation was strongest here, just like Magneto did, except Magneto is doing it with Earth's magnetosphere, not with radiation. Fun fact too, after he destroyed Asteroid M, that was meant to be a sanctuary for mutants, like a nation for mutants. Genosha kind of took the place of that, even though that was also eventually destroyed. Another cool detail that they finally reveal in this episode, a bunch of the people in the middle here running from the Sentinels are the same as the previous episodes, but they reveal that they're also ones that get turned into Prime Sentinels by Bastion during this episode. So it's like they were trying to show us the Prime Sentinels every single episode up to this point. During the opening scene, they start with Cable doing target practice outside the X-Mansion. Cyclops complains to Jean Grey that he keeps disappearing every time he tries to have the father-son chat with him, catching up, mostly because Cable is trying to avoid complicating the situation with family drama. He's not super touchy-feely just because he grew up in this post-apocalyptic Days of Future Past Age of Apocalypse timeline. Also now the future created by Bastion, which is like a whole other post-apocalyptic timeline for mutants. So basically, Cable has been busy dealing with Darkest Timeline stuff, like he grew up in the Darkest Timeline. Jean Grey joking about the apple not falling far from the tree is also to set up the Summers family dynamic, because there's a big Summers family power montage battle later in the episode. They also explain that Bishop is still on his way, but he got separated from Cable inside the time stream, so Bishop will be back, probably by episode 9. They reference Professor X when Cyclops laments never asking him how to raise children, because Professor X literally did that with his original X-Men team. All those original people were teenagers when they joined the team. Also, we get Professor X back at the end of the episode. So there's a lot of references to everything that happens in this episode. Cable then basically explains Bastion to the rest of the X-Men. His whole backstory is a reference to Operation Zero Tolerance from the comics. E is for extinction, like I said. When he references him using the Wild Sentinel attack on Genosha to gain support from the government for his Prime Sentinel program, that's basically what he did in the comics, only he was using the threat of Onslaught to do that. The Wild Sentinel was borrowed from E is for Extinction, which was the Grant Morrison New X-Men run where they introduced the Cassandra Nova character, who is now one of the main villains during Deadpool and Wolverine in live action. I do not think Cassandra Nova has anything to do with what they're doing on X-Men 97 right now. Maybe they'll do her in animated form in some future season. When he says the Prime Sentinels are created using the techno-organic virus, that is a change to that original comic book storyline. But after Operation Zero Tolerance, like after the Prime Sentinels, Bastion is dosed with the techno-organic virus, making him even more powerful. On the series, though, they're using that to explain how he can control machines like this, like just the way his powers work in general. It's not telekinesis traditionally. All of his powers were gained from the techno-organic virus and the fact that he is a human hybrid sentinel. During the original comic book storyline, all this was done with just regular nanobots. But essentially that virus infects people, then they turn into cyborg sentinels, the same techno-organic virus that Mr. Sinister infected Cable with as a child. Even though the reason why Mr. Sinister infected Cable with the techno-organic virus was a slightly different reason, it was meant to be his countermeasure that he was creating someone who could defeat Bastion, who had the techno-organic virus. So I think the fact that Cable also has the techno-organic virus will be key to how they defeat Bastion in the Prime Sentinels. Remember, during the episode, Mr. Sinister said he didn't care about Bastion at all. He was just using him to gain his prize, a never-ending supply of mutant test subjects. So he was always trying to find a way to counteract Bastion because eventually Bastion would have probably turned against him too. During the original Cable origin story in the comics, the reason why he gets the techno-organic virus is a little bit different. Like Mr. Sinister created him as a countermeasure to Apocalypse in the future, not to Bastion, but they're sort of swapping a lot of those storylines. Cable then reveals to all of them that the evolutionary war that Bastion waged lasted for the next 300 years, where basically every human is replaced by this new Prime Sentinel hybrid. But that's basically the future that Cable grew up in, like he was sent to that future.
So another dystopia where Logan's the last to die.
Morph makes a joke about Wolverine being the last one to die again. It's a reference to all the future episodes that we saw during X-Men the Animated Series, like the Days of Future Past episodes, the One Man's Worth episodes, which was Age of Apocalypse, but both of them dystopian post-apocalyptic futures. Cable shows them what Bastion's new future he creates looks like by forcing this evolution of humanity and says that it's meant to be a paradise for humans, even though technically they're not humans anymore. They're like human hybrids. All these designs are meant to look just like the original comic book Operation Zero Tolerance Prime Sentinels. But obviously for mutants, it is still very bad, like it is not a paradise for them, all the survivors being forced into slave labor camps. This old lady in space is Polaris, being forced to heal or maintain Earth's magnetosphere because her powers are similar to Magneto's, and I think in this future that Cable comes from, Magneto has already been killed. Then he explains the dark irony of the situation, like the dark twist. Professor X's dream was realized, but not the way he wanted. Mutants did usher in a bright, peaceful future, but as a slave labor class. Then they explain why Cable has not been able to stop the Wild Sentinel attack, which was what basically began all this. Every time he tried to change the past in this moment here, he was pulled back into the time stream, no matter what he did. Beast makes a Doctor Strange reference saying strange, then talking about the mystics of Kamar-Taj and the absolute points in time. Those are like fixed points in time, which we saw during the Doctor Strange episode of What If Season 1, where something happens that cannot be changed no matter how you try, or it will cause the destruction of your entire reality. Which is basically what happens to that version of Doctor Strange who turns into Strange Supreme. If you don't remember, Doctor Strange is actually canon to X-Men the Animated Series. He appeared in a cameo scene with Clea. But it's a different version from the Benedict Cumberbatch Doctor Strange, obviously. Then Jean Grey makes it sound like Madeline Pryor died on Genosha, and this also gets into Cable fixing things eventually, like, will he be able to ultimately undo what happened on Genosha? And I think they answered the question here when they said no, he can't, because it is a fixed point in time, meaning that they can't just have him time travel and bring everybody back to life that died. So if everybody was wondering how they bring Gambit back, it can't be through just simple time travel. Also, R.I.P. Madeline Pryor. When he says a rebel in his timeline 300 years in the future gave him plans for Bastion's secret base, I think that's probably going to wind up being Bishop or Forge, just because those people tend to show up in groups in future episodes, like, oh, you're always around here in the future trying to save things with time travel. Cable only has half the information on Bastion's backstory, so he's half right when he says that he's a backup android of Master Mold who uploaded himself into something after they destroyed him. That something was Nimrod. I'll explain what happened to him when we get to that part of the episode, because they explain how Bastion is connected to those one man's worth episodes of the original series. But as that's happening, Bastion releases the video clip of Professor X from the Shi'ar Empire, using it to turn people against the X-Men, just get them afraid of them, and blaming Gyrich's murder on them too, when in fact he did it himself, like we saw him kill Gyrich. Then they do a special wipe transition with X for X-Men to New York City to show what's happening with Sunspot's family. There's a very J. Jonah Jameson kind of news broadcaster yelling on the TV about mutants, and it's not J. Jonah Jameson himself, it's just like another random news pundit. But it looks like they're eating ostrich eggs. I think it's just the idea that it's super weird because they're super rich, like they just do weird rich people things. The whole reason why they get pissed off at his mother is because she does this prototypical rich, lazy person thing of throwing money at a problem and throwing the X-Men under the bus. Like, we'll fix this with money, even though all of her and her rich friends don't really care about mutants at all. It's all part of Sunspot's arc and him turning away from his parents and fully embracing becoming a member of the X-Men. We go back to Jean Grey, who's trying to heal Rogue using her powers after all the trauma she went through since Genosha. Like, she's really been through it the last couple episodes. Nightcrawler's there because he's her brother, as he says. He also kind of explains their connection to Jean Grey. And he gives her this big pep talk about how the X-Men are like a family, and it's all about the family you choose for yourself. It's not about blood. It's just about moving forward and choosing your family and just being with them. It's both meant to be about her relationship with Cable, because she can't really tell whose memories are whose between hers and Madeline Pryor's. Like, even though Madeline Pryor developed all these new memories of her own after she was created that shouldn't have been Jean Grey's, they had this weird psychic link. So like Jean Grey thinks that all the new memories she developed are also things that she did, like giving birth to Cable. So she kind of thinks of Cable as her son too, even though he isn't. But this is basically meant to show you her slowly becoming a surrogate mother to him, like thinking of him as her actual son. And she does a lot of mothering later in the episode to great comedic effect, like, put your seatbelt on. There's also a lot of references in Nightcrawler's speech about Mystique, just making it feel like Mystique will show up in the last couple of episodes. I still have a feeling that Val Cooper might wind up being Mystique in disguise, but they haven't fully revealed that yet. But if you didn't watch the original animated series episodes, the reason why Nightcrawler is Rogue's brother is because Mystique gives birth to Nightcrawler. After Mystique abandons him, she eventually becomes the foster mother of Rogue when she senses her great power and winds up bringing her to Magneto, which we also saw in flashbacks. Then after the X-Men wind up running into Nightcrawler, meet him, she learns their connection through Mystique, and they start to feel like brother and sister. Back at Bastion's base, they monitor the situation and they reveal that Val Cooper survived the destruction, and she's also wearing a uniform that looks a lot like Bastion's uniform, just to show that she was actually working with him, helping him inside the government, like a lot of the other villains around the Earth too, where we get a bunch of cameo scenes from. She calls Mr. Sinister like a new version of Mangala, which he jokes that he actually knew the real version because, remember, he's from the 1800s, he lived for a very long time. Mangala was a Nazi scientist during World War II who did all kinds of horrible experiments on people, just like Mr. Sinister does with mutants. He mostly experiments on mutants. Who also says Mangala only achieved a fraction of his true potential, just to show you how bad Mr. Sinister is. He also confirms my theory about his ultimate prize, basically being able to use Bastion to obtain a never-ending stock of mutants to experiment on in his quest to create the ultimate being. But like I said, his failsafe is Cable. Like, he created Cable in case he needs to kill Bastion. They show that they have Magneto all strung up. Val Cooper starts talking to him. They show his tattoo from World War II from the concentration camps because of the Mangala reference. Like, we're talking about World War II references here. During that, something similar happened to people. They were experimented on in really horrific ways, and now it's happening again, but just to mutants this time. Tilby comes back to visit Beast to try and make amends with him, but obviously is a plant for Bastion because she's been dosed with a techno-organic virus. Part of what he's doing here, though, is experimenting on Trask's body to try and find a way to counteract the techno-organic virus in the Prime Sentinels, because if they can't find a way to stop the techno-organic virus, the only alternative is destroying the Prime Sentinels, which means killing a bunch of living people, which would only radicalize humans further against mutants even faster, which is why Bastion's plan is so insidious. Then Team Summers learns that the coordinates Cable gave them sent them to Bastion's childhood home, which was also something that Bastion engineered, like he knew that they would eventually show up. And they basically use this whole part of the episode to explain the rest of Bastion's origin story on the show. And it's meant to be a slightly different version than the comics, but there's a lot of Easter eggs for the original comic book origin. In the future, he started out as a hybrid of Nimrod and Master Mold, then traveled into the past in human form and lost his memories, and then eventually regained them when he touched the remnants of Master Mold in the past. So for a long while, he grew up just believing that he was a normal child. What they changed for the show is to sort of connect this to the One Man's Worth episode. So at the end of that episode, if you remember, they basically destroyed Nimrod's body, which breaks into pieces. But Nimrod's whole thing is that he can survive that, like he can reform his body. So a piece of Nimrod wound up escaping and infecting the school janitor where they were at Professor X's school in the past. It sounds like before Nimrod had gone back into the past during that episode, Master Mold had uploaded some of his programming into him, creating the hybrid. So after Nimrod infects his father here, he sires a child with his mother here, and Nimrod's remnant basically turns the baby into this human hybrid sentinel. They keep referencing him as a mutant, like his body was mutated, so Bastion is meant to be a mutant on the show, just like the ones he's trying to kill. Oh, the irony. So Bastion is born like a normal human, but because he's a hybrid, he has all these remnant memories that he doesn't totally understand from Nimrod, from Master Mold, from all other sentinels. It explains why he's a technopath. He can talk to machines because, like Master Mold, Nimrod could talk to other machines. And it's why all these memories of the past and the future start creeping into his mind. Like, this is the crazy time travel aspect, because a lot of the memories are coming from Master Mold and Nimrod in Master Mold's ultimate plan to conquer mutants. So that's why all of his childhood pictures are basically depictions of the future that Cable just came from. Like, they were meant to be memories because Bastion effectively came from the future. There are all kinds of Easter eggs all over his house too, like there's a Stark Expo magazine for an Iron Man Easter egg, Iron Man canon to the series obviously, because the Avengers are canon to the series. The purple robot is meant to be a reference to the Sentinels. Also remember there was a picture of Bastion on Forge's wall when Forge helped them create the anti-mutant tech. So you have to remember that Bastion grew up trying to influence Forge and create a lot of this technology that eventually became the Prime Sentinels. The X-Men number 52 is the first appearance of Bastion in the comics. It was just a cameo appearance, and it was an issue that also featured an adventure with Gambit, sort of teasing Gambit's connection to Mr. Sinister, so this might also be teasing some Gambit stuff happening in the next couple of episodes too. When Bastion's mother said that she knew they were coming to get her, like, my son told me you were coming, that's because Bastion knows the future. He knew that they were going to show up. All these burning buildings here in the background, these childhood pictures meant to be references to the X-Mansion burning in present day, which Bastion then sees outside at the end of the episode, like, aha, my vision came to pass. There are a couple moments back at Bastion's base where they basically try to make him seem even worse than all the other villains on Earth so far. He reveals he did tell the government about what he was going to do on Genosha, killing all those people with the Wild Sentinel, so they kind of knew what was going to go down the way it was going to go down before it happened. Really making the government, like Val Cooper here, seem really bad. Then when he's talking about Guy Rich turning Magneto into a martyr, helping foster tolerance of mutants, that's basically him saying the title of the episode inside the episode. Like, he said the name of the thing inside the thing. Because the title of the finale is Tolerance's Extinction. And then Bastion sort of explains his master plan. Like, it's a lot of villain monologuing here with him explaining everything. He used Genosha in this massive scale of mutant deaths to cause humans around the world to become apathetic to the plight of mutants because it was too much suffering for humans to deal with mentally. This is also a bit of a call out on stuff that happens in real life, with like real life tragedies happening in other countries, stuff that people that you aren't connected to, and people just not caring about the plight of everyone else just in general that they're not directly connected to. It's like a war happens in another country and so many people die, it's so terrible that people would rather not think about it, so they become apathetic to the suffering of those people that they are not connected to. Which is really sinister, but very true to make as many X-Men puns as possible. Like, this is a phenomenon that happens in real life all the time. They have a Doctor Doom cameo scene revealing that he's been working with Bastion along with all the other villains in the world, who, as bad as he is, calls Bastion out for his war crimes. Like, I'm bad, but I want no association with the level of atrocities that you're committing with right now. Like, Doctor Doom doesn't want to be known as someone who did any of this stuff. You know you're bad when Doctor Doom thinks that you're too evil for him. They have a cameo scene with Baron Zemo. There's a bunch of other villains working with him. Some of them are kind of blurry in the background here, so you can't quite pick them out. We'll probably see them in future episodes too. Then he starts to explain the whole concept of the title of the finale, Tolerance's Extinction, because Bastion reveals that if he's not successful in his plan, within 100 years, mutants will outnumber humans 10 to 1, so more and more mutants are being born every day. Then he literally references Operation Zero Tolerance from the comics, and it's all about him acting now to save humans from becoming extinct, not being tolerant of mutants so that humans will not go extinct. Then he explains another very insidious part of his plan, like this is also based on a lot of stuff that happens in real life with social media platforms, but because we're in the 90s here, they talk about 90s level technology, so it's more like chat rooms and forums. Basically, Bastion targeting people who were dissatisfied or angry at mutants because they lost their jobs or for whatever reason, and stoked those flames, got them so pissed off at mutants that they would willingly join his Prime Sentinel program without really telling them what he was doing to them. Like, I'm not giving him all the details. Basically using 90s level social media to manipulate people and create his army. It's meant to be a direct reference to social media platforms in present day using algorithms to manipulate people and drive them towards one particular line of thought or radicalize people in really dangerous ways. There have been a number of social media platforms in the last couple of years that got in big trouble for doing stuff like this, like Facebook, for instance. Val Cooper starts to turn against him when she starts to get worried that Bastion's going to hurt humans more than she will help them, because remember, he'll be changing all humans eventually into human sentinel hybrids, so essentially this is the end of the human race no matter what. Then Bastion's mother shows them his final painting from when he was around 16 years old, and it's basically a vision of everything that's happening right now all at the same time. The three-headed wild sentinel from Genosha, the Prime Sentinels, all the dead mutants at the bottom, everybody dying in a fire. Which also triggers her transformation into a Prime Sentinel, revealing that Bastion also infected her with the techno-organic virus at some point. When they go back to Sunspot and Jubilee's storyline, the Wasserman's department store is a reference to Ron Wasserman, the composer who wrote the original X-Men the Animated Series theme song. I think that Saban himself also helped write that too. Sunspot's butler turns into a Prime Sentinel, everybody at the mall. It causes Jubilee to start hating malls, like I'm never coming back to the mall ever again. Beast uses Cerebro to start locating all the Prime Sentinels, and then Trish turns into a Prime Sentinel, part of Bastion's plan to infiltrate the expansion and kill the X-Men while this is all happening. They have a montage with a bunch of Prime Sentinels being activated around the world. I love the look of that little kid's face when his parents change too, like, oh crap. Beast says his classic catchphrase again. He's done it before this season a couple times.
Oh, my stars and garters.
They start their big battle at the expansion just as Team Summer starts their battle on the other side of the country. We finally get Juggernaut, even though it's morphed changing into Juggernaut. They featured him in all the intros this year with Magneto's team, but this is the first we've actually seen him in an actual episode. These pictures are Professor X's parents and of him as a child, and when he was in school, all the artifacts around the room were collected by his ancestors. This is also how Nightcrawler winds up getting his swords that we saw in previous clips, and in the intros, he borrows them from the wall display. Notice he's also using 3 of them, holding one with his tail. Then RIP X-Mansion as it starts to burn down. We'll see how they deal with this during Season 2, but Professor X is very, very rich. He has a lot of money. He can rebuild the X-Mansion as many times as he needs to. All these battle scenes are great, like they're way better than the original series. Like the budget for the original series was so much smaller, they just generally couldn't do action like this. They mostly want to show you here that Rogue is still down for the count, but she'll probably be back by episode 9. They also do something really cool here too. They show you what it looks like inside the Brimstone dimension when Nightcrawler is teleporting. Wolverine goes along for a ride accidentally when they both skewer one and then teleport away from Rogue. They pay off Jubilee's joke about being the only one who can't fly by revealing Sunspot's ability to fly when his powers are fully activated, who says he's been practicing in the Danger Room this whole time. Like, I've been working on this for a while now. Team Summers loses another Blackbird. It's become a meme this season. They say this is the 3rd one to be destroyed in the last 3 months. They're burning through them like candy. But they use this to reveal that Cyclops had his car on the Blackbird. Really cool chase scene going on here, but they also probably did this because they're going to sell this car as a toy that you can buy. Like everything you see in episodes will be sold as toys. It's called Toyetic. They make jokes about this on Rick and Morty all the time. Side note, it's also kind of funny that Cable knows what a Porsche actually is, as if Porsche still exists in 300 years. Who then promptly turns it into a convertible. They have their big Summers family team-up moment. Notice the windshield of the car here too makes it seem like it's made from the same red ruby quartz as his visor. Zoom and enhance on the back too. The license plate is a bit of a Cyclops joke from the comics. In the comics, Wolverine calls him Slim as his nickname. Maybe this is also a bit of a reference to Cyclops' car from the live-action X-Men movies too, when Wolverine stole that car. Sunspot crashes into his mother's party. Remember, her big thing was not revealing to everyone that he was a mutant, all their rich friends, investors. So now all of them know, and Bastion apparently programmed the Prime Sentinels to lie and make mutants look even worse, lying about their true purpose to the other humans. Like, we're not here to kill them, we're here to help mutants. More like help them into an early grave. Not sure why, but Bastion apparently is rolling around in a classic Rolls Royce, which he takes to the Burning X Mansion, probably just for the ceremony of it all, like just kind of basking in the glow of the Burning X Mansion. My vision that I drew a long time ago is finally coming to pass, like he drew this as a young child. Then they reveal Val Cooper rebelled against them and released Magneto because she senses Magneto was right this whole time. Make all the Thanos was right memes as possible. Magneto was right. Then we get Magneto traveling to the North Pole where Earth's magnetic field is at its strongest, enabling him to supercharge his powers way faster and essentially use the entire Earth's magnetosphere to destroy all Prime Sentinels. There are a couple quick cameo scenes from around different points in the world just to show the effect all over the world happening. Spider-Man cameo scene in New York City, fulfilling the promise from episode 1. Like there was a bit of a cameo scene, but it was a text-based cameo scene with the Daily Bugle, Eddie Brock, Venom, Peter Parker, Spider-Man. But we finally see Spider-Man, and it is the version of Spider-Man from the animated series in the 90s. You have to remember that all those Marvel series from the 90s, like Hulk, Iron Man series, everything is all canon to each other, mostly through the Spider-Man series. That did the legwork of sort of bringing everyone together, canonizing everyone to the same Earth. We get a Silver Samurai cameo in Japan, then an Omega Red cameo in Russia. And Wolverine correctly sees that Magneto has declared war on humans, so he's back to his old stick, like they're making Magneto more of his villain self again. No more tolerance, but he's basically gone to the opposite side of this from Bastion. Bastion was doing the same thing, like no more tolerance. Just as he asks for Professor X's help, he crashes into the X-Mansion, returning wearing the same Shi'ar spacesuit that Lilandra wore when she came to Earth for the first time, and says his catchphrase, also from that new X-Men run that they're borrowing from, "To me, my X-Men," showing the major X-Men characters that he's contacting on screen, which include Storm. So part of the idea is that Bastion did not plan for Magneto to escape, like he wasn't expecting that. So think what we're building to, because Magneto destroyed all the Prime Sentinels, is Bastion himself fighting the X-Men and Magneto, a lot of these other mutants. And if you thought the Prime Sentinels were hard to kill, Bastion is way more powerful. But remember, it's all about Mr. Sinister's ace in the hole, which is Cable, who has the techno-organic virus, which is probably their backdoor to defeating Bastion. There were a whole bunch of Easter eggs, references, cameos in the episode, so if there's any you spotted that I didn't talk about during the video, just write them below in the comments, and everybody just let me know what your favorite moment was from the episode. There is so much stuff happening right now, like so much plot in each single episode, and we know we're getting at least like 3-4 seasons. My full episode 9 video will post next week after they release it, so be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. There's a bunch of other big stuff happening this week too. Everybody click here for all my X-Men 97 episodes, and click here for all my new Deadpool and Wolverine trailer videos and Easter eggs. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.